New Jersey is one of the most diverse states in America, and it's personally my favorite state, even though I kind of hate it. We are jammed right between Philly and New York City, which creates a massive melting pot of different cultures and backgrounds. Not only that, but the state also features beaches, forests, mountains, and lush farms all within an hour of each other. Just like the people in the terrain, New Jersey also features a diverse collection of theme parks and roller coasters. From a massive Six Flags park to small boardwalk parks, New Jersey features one of the best collections of coasters and flat rides around. And today, I'll be counting down the 20 best the state has to offer, in my opinion. I've ridden almost all the coasters in the state, and really only missing Hellcat at Clementon, a few kiddie coasters, and the mountain coaster at Mountain Creek. I can imagine that none of those would really make this list, so it won't be that big of a loss. Starting off the list at number 20 is a coaster that I love to hate on, Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Great Adventure. I spent a little too much time with this B&M flying coaster back in 2021, as I was placed as a supervisor of the ride for the season, and I pretty much spent every single day of my summer there. I do have to admit, this ride can be decently fun, just not in the morning when it's cold and empty, which is what most of my rides were. The ride features a great inversion with the pretzel loop, and it has a graceful layout that gives a nice flying sensation, run of turns, and the final inversion. Number 19 is one of the newest coasters in the state, and it's Runaway Tram at Maurice Piers. This Zero family coaster provides a really smooth ride, great positive forces, and even a bit of airtime and laterals. In my opinion, this is one of the best family coasters out there, truly offering a fun experience that everybody can enjoy. Number 18 is another new coaster for the state, and kind of a 4D coaster, Zololoka at Casino Pier. I didn't know what to expect out of this FBF Visa Big Air coaster, but honestly, it's a total blast. I haven't even ridden the regular spinning cars yet, but the looping cars are so much fun that I really don't care about the spinning ones. The ride is fairly smooth even with those awkward chunky trains, and the rotations are fluid and they even give some fun hang time and a fast spinning sensation. If you get it right, you can even stall out for a second or two, providing even better hang time, but you kind of have to figure out how to do it after a few rides. Number 17, the Joker at Six Flags Great Adventure. I hate to admit it, but S&S free spins are kind of fun. I've always been a big fan of the concept and just wish it could have been executed better. I also have spent a little too much time around this ride, working it in 2018 and 2020, but putting that aside, riding it is a lot of fun compared to working it. The out of control sensation and flipping has always been something I've enjoyed, and has even been in a much higher spot on my list in my top coasters. Number 16 is Wild Waves at Playland's Castaway Cove. This is a super fun family coaster from E&F Myler that gives some really fun airtime and runs fairly smooth, however it can be janky at parts. The coaster's small stature is very deceiving because the airtime on this ride is legitimately crazy at points. The trains also are a little cramped, however if you get enough space with the lap bar, like I said, you can get some really good airtime, as you can see here. Number 15, Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Great Adventure. Ah yes, Magnum XL 200 Jr. This aero mine train starts up with some janky aero elements that, while have a few bumps, are still fun in my opinion. The ride kicks it up a notch after the mid-course brake run, with a large drop into a helix with some, great, we'll go with that word, profiling. After that, it goes into the famous ejector airtime hill, which is comparable to one of Magnum XL's hills. The ride does have a few other airtime pops scattered throughout it too, and yeah, it is a little rough, but the airtime is too good to not include it on this list. Also not to mention, the scenic ending over the water is super fun, and right after that, you get a nice little strong airtime pop with some pretty strong laterals going into the brake run. Honestly, a very underrated ride and a very underrated aero mine train. Number 14, Great White at Maurice Piers. This is the state's only CCI coaster, and it's a fun little wooden coaster. The ride has been running a little rougher lately, however, the ride has some great and fun laterals, floater airtime, and a great setting right on the beach. I feel like if the ride got a full retrack from Gravity Group using their new prefab track, and it ran a bit faster, it would easily be one of the best coasters in the state. Number 13 is another Maurice coaster, Sea Serpent. They're really good Vekoma Boomerang. This ride is butter smooth, and with the new vest restraints, you can really appreciate the fun and forceful layout of the boomerangs, and especially the dizzying backward section. Overall, very enjoyable, much better than any other boomerang that I've ever ridden, including Sidewinder at Hershey Park. I haven't ridden Jolly Rancher yet, however, Last time I rode Sidewinder, I hated it. Number 12, HYDRUS at Casino Pier. This small Gerstlauer packs a serious punch, with its beyond vertical drop and 3 inversions giving intense positive Gs and really great hang time at the top of the inversions. The experience really weighs out the short length of this coaster, however, it could put a little bit damage on your wallet as it is kind of expensive to ride. Number 11, we go back to Great Adventure for Green Lantern. I know many people really wouldn't put it as how as I do, however, I really love the intense layout this B&M stand-up coaster has. Every inversion features great positive G-forces, and there's even a few spots of airtime. I personally enjoy the standing up gimmick too, and overall, I think this ride gets a little bit too much hate. Sure, it does run on the rougher side occasionally, and really there's only one bad spot on the ride, which is the top of the incline loop, but if you know about it, and you kind of brace for it in a way, I've never really braced for it, I've never really had a problem with it, you can definitely enjoy this ride. Just make sure you don't sit down, because that is the worst possibly thing you can do. After working this thing pretty much every season I've worked at the park, I've really learned how to ride it, and I'm sure you could probably figure it out if you ride it a few times. Starting off the top 10 is the world's tallest coaster, KINGDA Ka. Ka has one of the best launches around, going from 0 to 128 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. It has extreme positive Gs, and depending on how fast you go over the top hat, some extreme ejector airtime. The ride's been running really smooth in 2022, so definitely make sure you check it out the next time you head over to Great Adventure. Also, try out the back row. I know in past it's got a bad reputation for being the roughest row on the ride, however the last 2 times I've ridden Ka, I've ridden in the second to back and the back row, and it was pretty much as smooth as the front. Don't know what they're doing, but KINGDA Ka's maintenance crew is really keeping an eye on that thing, and they're doing a fantastic job. Number 9, the Great Nor'easter at Morey's Piers. For those of you who don't know, Nor'easter isn't a normal Vekoma SLC. Morey's retracked the ride in 2017 and even reprofiled some sections, essentially making it an entirely new ride. There are still a few janky transitions here and there, but overall the ride is very smooth and is comparable to an older B&M invert with its intensity and smoothness. SLC lights are actually really good when they're smooth like Nor'easter, and in my opinion, more SLCs should get this treatment as soon as possible. Speaking of B&M inverts, number 8 is Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. Batman was one of the first B&M inverts ever built, only being the 3rd installation after the original Batman at Six Flags Great America in 1992, and Flight Deck at California's Great America a few months prior in March of 1993. Batman still provides that classic, intense, whippy feel of the earlier inverts from B&M, and the ride runs very smooth to this day. It almost feels like a small version of Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa, in my opinion. Number 7, Medusa at Six Flags Great Adventure. To this day, the ride is currently my favorite B&M fullest, and pretty much has been since I started riding this ride. Since they refurbished it and transformed it into Medusa, the ride is running a lot faster and very smooth. It has great positive Gs, whippy inversions, and some awesome special effects, like the famous fire and of course the misters. The ride may be tucked away in its own corner, but it's totally worth the walk back there, as this is truly one of the stars of Great Adventure in my opinion. Number 6 is our first entry from Nickelodeon Universe, TMNT SHELLRAISER. This is a massive Gerstlauer Eurofighter that holds the record for the steepest drop at 121.5 degrees. And it features 8 inversions, a launch, and a terrifying vertical lift hill. The ride is jam-packed with intense positive Gs, moments of airtime, and crazy pacing. The one downside is, for whatever reason, the strong shuffle this ride has. Even with its brand new, it's even got some potholes in the second half of the ride. Not sure if the ride is having an identity crisis with the turnpike right next door to those potholes, but it's whatever at this point. Number 5 is Sandy's Blasting Bronco, right next door in the same park. This short but sweet, intimate LSM launch coaster features a crazy tight layout with forceful inversions, hang time, and whippy transitions. The ride takes the layout backwards on the second lap, and that backwards launch is one of the best moments on any coaster in my opinion. If you really like crazy launches, that one is definitely one you have to try out. Number 4, Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove. SNS? What the f***? This is probably the strangest coaster I've ever ridden. The ride doesn't invert once, and it has a crazy tight plot of land. Like I said, it doesn't go upside down at all, So instead of going upside down, it just twists out of it and decides to give you the strongest ejector airtime you'll probably ever feel. There was no reason that the ride should be this crazy. However, unfortunately on my most recent rides, it was running a tad bit rough and felt like it almost had that Gerstlauer shuffle to it like SHELLRAISER or Mystery Mine. Because of the ride's roughness, it was kind of hard to ride it more than once. However, the ride is just so insane and intense, it just can't not be on this list. The final 3 coasters are all a great adventure, and starting with number 3 is NITRO. It's still one of my favorite B&M hypers to this day, and it's been running amazing in 2022. Every hill gives great floater airtime, and the helix is fantastic. There's even some laterals on the hills that twist, specifically the one that's going into the helix if you're riding in the back right. Not to mention the finale is so good because the hills just keep going, and you just keep getting great floater airtime the entire way through. And if you manage to get a trimless ride, typically this happens during Holiday in the Park when the ride is really cold, you get some insane ejector airtime over those final hills. It's unbelievable that a B&M can actually do that. Also not to mention, after 20 years the ride's still running butter smooth and gives millions and millions of great rides every single year because this ride is a capacity monster. And obviously as an operations person, that is something I always look for in a coaster, and I really love it. Number 2, Jersey Devil Coaster. This RMC Raptor opened to mixed reviews in 2021, however in 2022 the ride really sped up and is running to its full potential and really giving that RMC feel. The ride is filled with awesome ejector airtime, fun inversions like the 0G stall, and the ride even features some positive Gs, which RMC typically isn't known for. I know a lot of coaster enthusiasts don't like this ride because it doesn't rip your legs off or whatever, however this has quickly grown to be one of my favorite coasters. And number 1 is of course El Toro. This Intamin prefab is famous for giving crazy ejector airtime, having an amazing drop, and just a general balls to the wall experience. People have been saying this ride is getting rough, but personally it's felt the same to me since I started riding it almost a decade ago. Now personally, I love the roughness in certain parts of the ride as it gives that wooden coaster feel, which I really enjoy. Not too rough, but just enough to give the ride some character. Also not to mention, this is still one of the smoothest wooden coasters around, and people should really ride other wooden coasters that are probably just as intense, especially some of the older CCIs, because this looks like a brand new seal coaster compared to some of them. This is definitely one of my favorite coasters and probably will be for years to come. Everything about it is just great between the insane ejector airtime, the few floater moments, and of course the intense ending. It's just a really well balanced ride and I can't really think of anything else that's similar to it. Thanks so much for watching everybody, and of course if you enjoyed the video make sure to leave a like, let me know on your opinions on the coasters in New Jersey and list in the comments down below, and of course subscribe for more coaster content just like this. Once again everybody, thanks for watching.